Hello everyone, once more. It's Thursday, the 20th of March 2025. We greet everyone. We are in South Africa. It's London. It's very hot, very humid this afternoon. It's a public holiday tomorrow. It's Human Rights Day. We hope that everyone that is an advocate for human rights, they know what human rights stand for, and they will keep on fighting for their rights of humanity and equality as well. I am your host, Mr. Fraser from the Fraser Foundation. With me, joining us is 𝗩𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 Yeah, it's our third episode, by the way, today.
Believe you me.
Oh, time flies, eh?
Promise you.
Would have known.
Having fun.
Okay, cool. I wanted to recap from our last episode. We spoke about the vision, we spoke about the mission, we spoke about values, and we spoke about culture in the workplace. And I remember asking, what sort of culture and values do we want to see in our workplaces? Because we always pick up that the mission, the values, and the vision are not in sync with how people behave in the workplace. And I went on to ask, what sort of behavioral patterns do we want to see in terms of the culture that we want to cultivate in the workspaces as well, in order for us and employees, the teams that we lead, ensure benefit from a safe and a conducive environment is. So, and I remember we spoke about performance vis-a-vis results, and we went on to unpack what performance is all about, what results are as well. And we said that there are commonalities in each one of them between performance, what are performance-driven teams, what is it that we should be looking for, and result, vis-a-vis results. Are we just looking for throughput, and what makes up results if employees are not happy in an environment? And I think we spoke about how employers should actually ensure they create a safe and a conducive environment in the workplace as well, to ensure optimum productivity from the various teams and the entire organizations that they lead as well. And I just came across yesterday something that I went on to read is in terms of what is it that we should look for in our teams as well, in terms of contribution, and what value are they supposed to be bringing? The reason why I'm wanting to make sense of this later on in the episodes that we'll be talking about, we will be talking about, for example, when we indicated, we'll talk about presenteeism, absenteeism, work toxicity, and mental health in the workplace, because we have found out, and research also indicates that 90% of employees want employers to talk about their wellness in the workplace. And remember that there is no workforce that can perform adequately and optimally without a well-oiled workforce and a workforce that is taken care of as well. There are various means of taking care of teams, and I think you also touched on the issue of incentive in terms of the salary. There are those teams that go they go solely to draw a salary at work, but I brought in the issue of emotions, capacity. We look at, for example, your creativity in the workplace as well. So those are some of the issues that we touched on. And briefly, Ace, I just want us to also, as I alluded earlier, to check how can our teams contribute to the work environment, and so that we look at the issue of give and take in the work environment, employee versus employee. Are there expectations from both parties as well when we talk about contribution to the teams? Because you see an organization is broad, it has its mission, vision, etc., goals, objectives, but what is it that you think that ways teams can contribute to the workplace?
It's great that you're linking the whole system that flows from vision through mission and values with the subject that you're bringing now of teams really making a contribution, because that's all linked. If I come to your company as an employee, I want to know what you're about. I want to know your vision, and an ideal situation is where I'm able to see myself in that vision of yours. I should even be able to craft my own vision that's aligned to your vision, because remember, at the top there as the leader, owner, CEO, whatever the fancy title you've got in the company, you've got that high level vision, the overarching one for the entire organization. But I will have a specific role, maybe even a specialist, and I will have a single focus, so to speak, but then I fit into what everybody else is doing. So I'm saying every single individual who works for a company, to start with, needs to understand what that overarching vision is. They should be able to craft their own vision, even if it's not written down, but writing down also has so much power, so that you can internalize it. When you wake up every morning, you know what is impelling you. And I'm saying impelling as opposed to compelling, because when you are impelled to go and realize that vision, it's something that flows from within. So that's the tall order that companies have. Get people excited over their vision, clarify what it is, get them excited, and then embrace the uniqueness of individuals in the team. So you want people to contribute, just acknowledge the fact that they're individuals first and foremost. Acknowledge the fact, if we were to use color codes, understand the fact that some people are green, some people are yellow, some people are red, some people are blue.
It's a kaleidoscope.
Promise you.
Different people that are coming from different backgrounds. They are informed, it's called cultural diversity in the workplace, respecting people's religion, values, the way they dress, and etc., etc. So that sense of appreciation, I think, is very critical, because I was going to say also that would be what ideally we would want to see in the next vision 2030, for example. I'm just making an example, so that we start now cultivating a culture that would embrace everyone in the workplace. Okay, thanks, Ace. And then what else do you think teams could contribute, and in terms of the success of the company as well, or organization for that matter?
So you did mention earlier, and even in the previous episode, how crazy I was about performance. And for me, when we talk performance, we can't talk about it without performance management. We can't talk about it without the kind of performance planning, the whole performance management cycle. Where you have somebody plan their performance for a circumscribed period, as well as the kind of capacitation they require to be able to do that work. So when you go into a job, you go because you've got the requisite skill set, but then there will be those areas where you need some development. So employees can contribute from what they've got already, in other words. So this actually means that you can't divorce different functions in any organization, and I'll zoom in and just talk about HR alone. If you're recruiting for a role, that recruitment should bear in mind what the vision of the organization is, and ideally a vision of a department that person is going to be working in, so that person is able to then have their own vision to align with the vision of the department and the vision of the organization. So when you start there with selecting the right kind of candidate or recruiting the right kind of candidate, then you have a good chance of having somebody who has a fairly good amount of skills that are required to carry any job, so that people can be left on their own, trusted to do the right thing the best way they can from their blue or yellow or red or green angle, because like we said, people are different.
Yes.
So you want to get the best out of your people, give them opportunities to set them up for success by tasking them to do what they know they've been trained to do, and then develop them further, and then you get the best out of your people. You simply have to tell them what your vision is or what your goal is as you go along, because you have different projects or programs that you run as an organization to be able to realize your vision. That's all you need to do with the right kind of people in the right kinds of positions. Tell them what it is you're working on, what is strategic priority, and give it to them. And of course, I'm talking like every organization has a culture of allowing people to take initiative and make mistakes and correct themselves. Yeah, but I'm talking to different things that you've raised before at the same time. It's difficult to like just talk about the one issue. So I'm saying, in other words, culture is very much linked to you getting the best out of your people. When I say allow them to try things out, make their mistakes, do what they do the best way they know how, as long as they give you the results and it's all legal. Nobody gets into trouble after they've done all of that.
Okay. Throughout the discussion, I've heard the word development. For me, development goes hand in hand with training people. But we don't see that often anymore.
True.
Why is that so? What has happened? Why are our organizations being complacent when it comes to developing those individuals, either for career development or personal development in the workplace? Because we have also seen the lapsing of the lapsing of controls and the neglecting of staff who have not been trained, for example, over a number of years. Why are we finding ourselves in a deteriorating state? What could be the contributing factor?
For me, everything goes back to vision. The moment you lose sight of your vision, you get all kinds of problems.
Powerful.
So when you have a vision, for example, you will have, among other roles and functions, a function of somebody who sees to people's development, HRD, training and development, if in some cases it'll be called, and you will make sure that you know that skill set that I talked about earlier. You profile people, you know what they know, you know what we're focusing on, and you'll be able to assign people those tasks that they're best able to do, and you'll be able to pick up skills gaps as well. This day and age, we're generalizing, because I believe, again, there are companies who do a good job of developing their employees. But in cases where that's not happening, that's because we've lost sight of why we're here in the first place, and how important this human asset is to the attainment of the vision. And so we neglect the staff. We don't train them on an ongoing basis. And when you do that, people will feel it, people will see it, and you can't tell.
It results in despondency, because people start getting demotivated as well.
Yes, because you have dreamers who love your vision, who want to support it, who know the kinds of development opportunities they would like to get, so that they're able to better serve you, the leader of the organization. But if you're saying with one side of your mouth, you kind of two-tongued. With one tongue, you're saying, I want to grow a company into this level, and then on the other side, you're not doing what's required, which, among other things, is the very development of your people.
Now, there's this issue of, I think we did briefly talk about value as well.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke about the value that employees bring into the organization.
Mm-hmm.
What value do teams also bring into that particular organization or company,
mm-hmm.
if I may ask this? Because remember that for me, in terms of how we understand the structure, the organizational design, and all these other things that would form a basis of a particular institution.
Mm-hmm.
Are we really valuing employees, or are employees, vice versa, valuing the fact that they are being employed? So again, we have a group of teams that form part of these organizations in terms of your structure and departments as well.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of value can they bring into that organization?
Mm-hmm. So this word value is an interesting one, because you use it to mean the kind of contribution, the value add that somebody brings into the mix. But you also use the same word, but usually with the S at the end, values, which organizations need to sell to their staff complement.
Yes.
So people themselves, I love an expression that I picked up along the way, which says, wherever you go, there you are. So if you do a good job of doing that selection, that recruitment selection process, the HR processes, you're then able to learn to even pick up the right kind of people with great values, so that you don't still have to mother, father, be a police and do all sorts of things to your employees. But you actually have that symbiotic relationship where they add value, and then they know your values as the company, and the two just go together like that, with the great values that people bring into the organization, and clear values that you also present to them, to say, this is how we behave around here. Because that's how I understand values, that it's all about the behavior that's expected of anyone who works here, so that even without anybody judging you, the moment you act against or parallel to even one of these values, if you've got a couple, you know yourself, and you probably even punish yourself, you spank yourself,
you pinch yourself.
Yes, yeah. Because you know you've done a disservice to yourself and to your colleagues and to your employer.
I think we've covered quite a bit when it comes to the background, the expectations of the workplace situation. And I went to an extent of just giving a summary of how the workplace in South Africa looks like ideally, and what it is nowadays. But what we are also not looking at in the kind of environment that we work under, is the sharing of information and resources. So because some of these environments are highly politicized, so you find that employees work in a fearful environment. They are scared to share information. They are not sure as to what they should be doing. And all I'm saying is that if ever someone had a good vision and knew how to lead teams, I'm talking from a leadership perspective now, employees should not be scared to share information, to give information, and they would be knowing anyway the do's and the don'ts pertaining to the sharing of that information, like, for example, sensitive information. But nowadays, this is what we're picking up, that there is misinformation, there is fake news that is being spread across, and you hear of this, and the gossiping, that the rumor milling that is going around and destroying the very same individuals that we're supposed to be contributing to the very same institutions that are meant to develop them one way or the other. And what do you think about organizing social gatherings in the current realities of the work environments? Because, as I put it to you, that the dichotomy that we're picking up throughout the institutions, not just one institution, is the fact that employees are not united. And I did bring it up in our previous discussion that once there's this unity, you get fragments of employees, and the lapse of controls, governance, and people are disorganized. The staff do not want to come to work. What is it that we could perhaps bring in and infuse a culture of ensuring that employees get their growth back?
That's an interesting one, because I'm thinking it could go one of two ways. You could have a situation where your environment is already highly toxic, so that if you created those social platforms for people to come together with the intention to get them to unite, you actually get the opposite, the unintended outcome of people fighting even more, getting even more toxic. So that's one possibility. There probably would be a third variation, but the other of the two that I said, one of the two could happen, is having people who really want this unity thing. And so when you create platforms for them to come together, they would grab it with hands and feet, and they would make it work. And the other option that I'm just thinking of now, off the top of my head, is something that may not necessarily be social in the sense of, because I think people think social, we would come together casual,
yes,
and there'll be drinks and everything. There are sessions that I happen to facilitate. I call them team cohesiveness sessions.
Okay.
And
team cohesiveness, yes, that is the word.
Because when you don't have the when you have the toxicity,
Sure.
when you have people not united, no doubt they won't be able to work in cohesive ways.
No.
So one will pull in one direction and another in another, and you'll have the same scenario that you painted earlier of people misinforming others, and that means again we've lost sight of the big vision. So with team cohesiveness, we bring people back to the true north. Because remember, when we came here in the first place, there was one vision that was supposed to bind us all together.
Yeah.
And if that does not form part of our meetings, our communication, our culture, like intentionally so, then you can't expect people to be epitomes, to be embodiments of that vision.
Of that vision.
Yes. You will have a situation where the curious ones will always go back to that vision and look for ways to live it out.
Sure.
But the rest will be disengaged and actively disengaged, like we spoke about last time, and they won't care a hoot about what the vision is about. And that for me is what causes all the disunity that you see in most organizations. Bring that vision, get people excited over it, and you can never have an end to that. As long as the organization exists, we need to keep going back to the vision, even reviewing it.
Sure.
I mean, I have no scientific way of proving that this is the best frequency to do that, but I'm just, again, off the top of my head, maybe every 5 years, go back to the vision.
Yes.
Look at it critically, and don't get married to it too much. See if it's still relevant. See if we're living it and how we're not living it. And when you do that, there's nothing personal when somebody says that behavior is not in line with the vision. Because that's the language we speak. But when we don't have a vision, then we get personal, we end up
I think
disunited.
What you're basically saying is that the reason why there's complacency, the reason why we're comfortable and we do not want to give our all is because we remain stagnant in those organizations, and that has been created over and built up over a period of time because no one foresaw or foresees that kind of a vision to say that, look, we've got a responsibility of ensuring that we are not sleeping on the job. We are on our toes. However, the mentality specifically with government is that, oh no, we are not profit-driven. We don't operate like business.
Big mistake.
That is a big mistake. Why are, for example, organizations, specifically government, thinking that should they not be performing adequately or optimally, then they would be doing something better in terms of service delivery, in terms of generating revenue, etc. So the response in this day and age for someone that would be looking at issues of the bigger picture, that vision again. Still continuing on the issue of how government thinks along the lines of not taking care of their stakeholders broadly and across. If ever government institutions operated like performance driven and understanding that their stakeholders, for example, the ratepayers in cases of municipalities and yes, they would understand the value add when they offer the kind of services that their constituencies and stakeholders require from time to time. However, the mentality out there is that they don't owe those that actually pay their salaries anything. That is the wrong mentality. And this is my case then to say, are we not supposed to be having out there people that actually command us and compel us to perform our dues and duties, for that matter, in ensuring that we perform accordingly. And it just requires good leadership, wherein you can trust people with doing the job and ensuring that they earn the salaries and the monies that they get from the various the life cycle, from identifying your stakeholders up to the tail end. So I think it's hence I'm saying that it is very critical for us to be able to add the value to our institutions in these in various ways and forms, so that we know and understand the reasons why we are there, equally so, without feeling guilty of getting that salary. And then the other one that I wanted to just perhaps talk about briefly before we end this session and move on to another one next week, and I'm looking forward to having invited someone as well to our fifth episode. Yeah. So I just wanted to perhaps bring in the area of coordination. What is your understanding of coordination in the whole life cycle of the workplace? Are we coordinated? Are we in sync again, or out of touch with our stakeholders? Are we also coordinated in the way we do things? Do you understand?
I hear you. Yeah. Amazing. I mean, these are all very much interlinked. You're talking here about a situation where it's good and well to have a vision. Let's say, just for simplicity's sake, the vision is to deliver basic services to you. You cited a municipal example, so I'll go with that. Let's say the vision of the municipality is to deliver basic service delivery efficiently to the people. And it's all very well to have that, but then you need teams upon teams who are going to do different things to achieve that very simple goal. When you have coordinated people, this is me now trying to answer your question, you will have those different teams, even if they're not experts in every area, but they will know what different teams do and how they fit into what the other team does. And that already is a sign of coordination, because I know that I don't exist in an island.
Sure.
I add value here. I do something for that vision.
There are codependencies
Yes.
in the value chain.
Exactly.
You depend on others as well to give you information, to give you stats, whatever that is required for you to be able to deliver.
Exactly.
Or, that is required.
So again, we're painting ideal situations here, which are very rare, and any company that gets this right, I haven't got it on, but I was going to say I take my head off for them. So we have that as something to achieve as companies and organizations. Have a clear vision, have teams to do different specialist jobs to be able to achieve that vision. It's supposed to be that simple, and reality is it is not that simple. And I'm going to even say something you didn't ask about. One of the reasons I believe can be cited for companies not really achieving that vision, simple as it is is because of that very leadership that you spoke about. Because everyone in those teams is a leader in their own right. And then they have those energies that I spoke about. They either green or yellow or blue or red. And because of their different colors, they do things differently. And the best teams will have all those different colors, and they will embrace all of them, because when you have somebody green, you have a motherly person who wants collaboration.
You mean when I'm wearing this
green? So green, for example, will be an indication, a symbol of collaboration, teamwork. So you want to have somebody like that in your team to drive collaboration always. When we get excited as maybe red people, because that red people is always concerned about results, and by hook or by crook, and they can even have casualties along the way. They don't care to who's, they don't have feelings. But you've got that green person, you want them to be there so that they can help balance that red person.
Interesting discussion.
You see, and then you have a yellow person, for example, who is buoyant, who's a socialite, who's a creative. They will carry on brainstorming and bringing great ideas on how we can eat this elephant, but they never land, because they've got so many of these. So you need them because you need to generate ideas, but you also need that red person to say, hang on, we need to land at some point. And then you've got a blue person who tends to be detailed. They like research, they like data, and so on. But that red person doesn't have time to deal with like loads and loads of information. Give me the bottom line, give me bullet points. And even maybe the green person cannot handle, like, because if you're going to present to me something that's like that long, I'll be sleeping by the time you finish.
Are you able to identify with the red, yellow, blue, green? Which one is yours? Which color are you?
You see, so great teams have all those colors, and they harness all of them. They embrace all of those. You see.
Ah. Interesting.
Yeah. What was the question again?
No, I was basically wanting to find out, are we coordinated when we talk about the workplace between employer and employees? Sure. Is there any synergy that we should be looking at when we talk about coordination? Sure. And at what level is this coordination? And by the way, remember I said that coordination is required at some point in time, because we need to be working together. It just again is a sum total of teamwork, so to speak. Sure. In order for us to be able to achieve some of the results, we need a team A to produce one thing, and team D, etc., in order for us to be able to get things done as well.
And you need all of those teams, A, B, C, D, whatever their names are, to consider planning together. You have a situation. Let's stick with the example again of the municipality. You have a situation where they have departments, they have directorates. And each directorate, each department sees themselves as a whole organization, and I don't need to be talking to somebody else. I can't take an instruction from somebody else, which by the way is often not an instruction, it's a request. There's something that I need from you to be able to do what I'm supposed to do. So when I'm asking for it, that's all I'm doing, I'm asking for it. But then you take it like I'm telling you how to do your work. So when you have those kinds of environments, that means there is no coordination. That means people don't understand how we are all interlinked like that, and how we're supposed to coordinate our efforts. Because the budget that we have as an institution, imagine a big bag, and everybody has got to dig from the same bag. And in some cases, we we don't need to have an equal share or equitable
we
share.
we can't have an equitable share.
Yes, because there's something that you do that requires money, and by the time you get to me, there's no financial resource that's required. You just need your human resource. It'll carry out the job, and it's done. And it's not a fighting matter that one directorate got more money than this one type thing. So coordination flowing from vision is just the best way to go about these things. And when we forget that vision, when we forget the fact that we have to coordinate, collaborate, work together, well, that means we're very much inside ourselves. We are all about ourselves, no longer about the vision. So I think now more than ever, we need to just be reminded that life is not about you. It's about every single one of us.
Wow, powerful. Ace, we've just, I wish we could talk more. This is becoming interesting. And I am learning in the process that, you know what, critical thinking is also required in the process for us to be able to move forward in life, to take the institutions and organizations into the next level and direction as well. And having said that, tell us what you think should be the next ideal workplace with all these challenges that we are experiencing in this current reality. And what would be the suggestions again for employers to consider? And if it were your organization, what would you impart to your employees as well? What would be your expectations? What sort of relationship do we want at the end of the day when we go? Because remember that we spend most of our time at work, and therefore we need to work in a sane, safe, friendly environment that looks after its workforce. On that note then, we thank you for watching our coming together to our platform, and we're looking forward to holding these regular talks. We shall be introducing other topics along the lines as well. Thank you very much. Bye.
Toodles.